Hey, what's going on, guys? A little bit different tonight. No hat. Yes, I actually have some hair. It's not a whole lot up there, but I do have some hair. So, I was just going through responding to a bunch of comments and on some of the past videos. I try to respond to everyone, and I know I probably don't do as good a job as I should or could. And I was reading through some of those comments, and I also watched a video from one of my favorite channels, and it's Gathering Baskets Homestead. If you go into the YouTube search bar, Gathering Basket Homesteads, it's a couple of older ladies that live on a homestead not far from me, and really great stuff. Very educational and thought-provoking. And tonight, one of the two was talking about a little outside what she normally does, but she was talking about, this country and being a, these are my words, not hers, but patriotic American who believes in the Constitution, and we've just drifted so far from what was intended for this country and how this country was founded, and the economy and the direction that we're heading, the global conflict, just everything. You know what I'm saying. And she was saying she feels like we're heading towards a depression. I'm not sure if that's correct. Who knows? Maybe. But things are certainly trending in a direction that's not good. And when I was reading, I watched that video earlier today, and then I was reading some of these comments. And one of the things that has popped up, and I've talked to people that I know, in person and also online, is that what's the solution? You have people today that they will never, unless something major changes, they'll never be able to afford to buy a house. The housing market is insane. There's got to have to be a giant correction. And, the cost of everything continues to increase, and wages are not keeping up. Look at the cost of a car. And I've used this example before that, back when I was in my mid-20s and I had started a family, I was making $11 an hour. 11. And I had an apartment. I had a child. I had a wife. I had insurance. I had a car payment. I had food, rent. It was all paid for. Now, there was very little money left over. I can tell you that right now. Very little money. But I was able to do it. And sometimes it was a big struggle. It was a big struggle. I remember one time my older son was going to play football. And it was his second year in football, I think. Second or third year. And he was going to a different school. They rezoned, the government can't leave it alone. And in order for him to play, these fees had to be paid by a certain time. I went out, I sold an AK-47 because he had to play football. And that's not the only time that I sold something because I needed to provide. $11 an hour. Now, of course, it went up over time. But you look at today, somebody making $25 an hour are going to struggle to have a car payment, insurance, fuel, food, clothing, rent, electricity, water. So what's the answer? And either maybe what Gathering Basket Homestead said is there'll be a depression, there'll be some kind of collapse. then the housing market will drop. Everything will drop. Things will get cheaper. But again, a depression would open another can of worms and another set of situations and circumstances that we would have to deal with. The other thing that I've thought about, if you look at a lot of stuff that happens over in Europe, some of it, in some way, shape, or form, will find its way to the United States. It's much like what happens in California. Some way, shape, or form will make its way to other states, depending upon the state. And universal income is something that has been discussed a lot in Europe. And I don't know necessarily that it's been tried. I only have so much time. I've not done a lot of studying on that. But universal income is something that I could see the politicians rolling out here in the United States. If you're not familiar with what universal income is, and I'm not saying I'm an expert, but basically, people would receive a stipend every month. Now, you could look at unemployment, welfare, stuff like that as universal income. It's a little different, but similar. And there would be some kind of criteria. But here's what I see as the criteria. Those people that are willing to vote for that would probably get it, or at least they'd be told they would get it. So that would be like, you go to work and you earn a certain amount of money. Let's say the $25 an hour I mentioned. But you also get a check every month for $1,000 from the government. That's your universal income. Now, those of you that are familiar with basic principles of economics will know that what that causes is massive inflation. When you increase the money supply like that, prices go up. You could imagine if everybody in your town suddenly got $50,000, it would help the economy, no doubt about it. For a while, people will go out and spend. But pretty soon you'd start noticing, that pizza place raised their price. Those large pizzas, they're not $14 anymore. Now they're $16. Oh, now they're $18 because people, here you go, they'll buy it. So the way around that is price controls, which is something else that the government and politicians have talked about. You look what's happening in New York City. They're talking about price controls, rent control, controlling grocery store prices. There's been a lot of discussions on that. There's government intrusion on prescription drugs. I'm not saying it's all a bad thing. But those are a couple things that we could have a depression, some kind of big collapse, and that would cause prices to drop, and maybe some kind of adjustment would happen. You could have universal income and price controls. I'm sure there's others out there that I'm missing and I don't know about. But something's got to give. That's another term I've heard several times. I've heard people that I know say something's got to give. The prices, the taxes, the cost of everything. I know I talk about this quite a bit. But it's something that not only myself, but a lot of other people are dealing with. I read it, sitting there reading it in the comments. And it's not doom porn. This is real world. So, Utah Mike is one of my favorite commenters. I love all of you. But he's one of my favorite commenters because he brings up something over and over again. And he's 100% right. That financial preparedness is the number one preparedness. I don't know if it's number one. It ranks way up there, no doubt about it. But in a lot of situations, financial preparedness, I think especially for what we're facing in the future, might be the smartest move that somebody can make. You know, getting out of debt, saving, investing. You know, there's been times in the past when I've screwed up and I said, I don't want to put money in this stock market. I mean, we're heading towards a collapse. You know, I got swept up in the preparedness and survival narrative that some of the people that I was watching. You probably know some of the ones I'm talking about here on YouTube. And I took money that I had in a 401k, put it in a safe fund, which earned strictly 1%, and I lost a ton of money that I could have made because the stock market kept going up even though I was sure it wasn't going to happen. Yeah. My ability to predict the future is not all that great. So I've already run this video longer than I planned on, but you know, he talks about financial preparedness, and it's something that we really need to focus on, everybody. Getting out of debt, looking at how you're spending your money. You know, yesterday I made up a bunch of breakfast sandwiches because I said, you know what, I'm not going to stop at Dunkin' Donuts and get that, you know, turkey sausage on an English muffin and an order of hash browns. First off, what I made is healthier and much cheaper. You know, treat once in a while, that's okay. But anyways, thanks Utah Mike, I appreciate you providing those reminders. So anyways, that's it. I appreciate you guys stopping by. You got any comments, suggestions, thoughts on what I just talked about? What did I miss? Am I wrong? Comment below, let me know. So you guys stay safe, take care. We will see you in the next one.
So I ran from the cities and the noise and lies, found a piece of ground under open skies, hands in the dirt, sweat on my shirt, learning what living's really worth. While crooked men shake hands in rooms, selling souls to corporate suits. Society's sick, but I found the cure. A back road life, honest and pure. They can keep their throne and their golden news. This life out here's my modern exodus. I traded screens for a sunrise, callous palms, blisters, pride, planted seeds where hope